Yo, what's up, guys? Okay, so this is Film Composers Part Dos, okay? And go ahead, click out if you want to, but if you're a serious filmmaker, I would listen to this shit, because I'm gonna tell you the shit that the composers won't tell you because they're afraid of getting fired. I'm gonna lay it out for you, okay? And I'm gonna speak as if I was still composing, which I'm not. So here we go. And by the way, why is this critical, man? Because it could save your movie. You know, do you give a fuck about your movie? The composer is the last person that has a creative input on your movie, you know? And a lot of directors think that, oh, composers, they don't understand movies. Like, they just write music, so just slap some music on my shit and then we're good. No. The composer is one of the people, for example, who sees your movie the fucking most. You know, we see it, we know your film backwards and fucking frontwards. Okay? Like we're starting the cue. I'm not gonna do any definitions. If you don't know what I'm talking about in this, go look it up. Okay? And if you're a director, you should know this shit. So we start your cue on the fucking exact frame. That's how meticulous we are, right? And then we end the cue on the exact frame. I'll get into more of the granular shit in a minute, but we see that your film is not working in certain spots. It's not just we're putting pretty music under your shit. We're trying to fix some fucking problematic scenes. You know what I mean? Where it's supposed to be sad here, but it isn't. You know, you missed your shot. You didn't get the shot. And you whatever, you know, like, so now the composer's like, you know, let me try to fix it. Okay? That's a composer's job, is to fix what you fucked up. Essentially. Okay? So it's fucking critical, man. And let me start from the very beginning. I'm gonna go granular on this one, and because if you're not a pro, then click out, you know, and go have your movie look like shit and sound like shit, okay? And then nothing will happen for you. But, you know, and why am I saying this? Because, you know, if you get into like the millions of dollars of budgets, if you fuck it up, dude, that's it. People cut you off, and you're done. No, thank you. Okay? So I think it's fucking important. You know, and it's amazing to me how many directors don't give a fuck about sound and music. You know, like, what? So here we go. So, you know, one of them, like, the first thing you should think about as a director, if you're doing like indie shit, the very first thing you should think about is sound. Okay? That's where I would here's what I'm saying. That's where I would focus most of my budget. Most of it. Because if your movie sounds like shit, it is shit. It's seen like shit. You know? And sound is kind of like this invisible sort of thing where people don't notice it until it sounds like shit, and then they're like, fuck your movie. You could shoot something on like a piece of shit, you know, like VHS, whatever, you know, and then your sound is amazing, and you get your performances and the sound's amazing, and they're like, cool, it's a movie. You know, but you could spend all your money on, let's get the best fucking lenses, all this kind of shit, gels, all this kind of shit, and then it sounds like shit, no one's gonna like it. So this shit is important, man. You know, I'm just gonna super rant out on this one, okay? And like I said, composing is fucking critical, man. How should a director work with a composer? The director should walk in knowing that the composer, think of it this way. The actors, you know, a lot of directors are like, I want the best actors, you know, they're focused on that. Okay, that's fine. But once you get to post, they're gone. You know what I mean? So think of this. The actors never see playback, right? So they go in, whatever, they read the script, all this kind of shit, and they go do their job, which, you know, thumbs up, and then boom, they leave, and then they never fucking see the thing until it comes out, you know? So, you know, and your composer, while we're writing it, and that's the thing there to make a distinction. Amongst composers, there's kind of a hierarchy, and we ask questions like, do you write to picture? Do we know what that means? Do you write to picture or no? And I'm not trying to shit on people who do not. There's some, composers who don't write to picture. And they cut their music in, basically as a temp score, kind of the same way. But the composers that do write to picture, it's difficult, man, and because you're building out now I'm blanking on. It's been a minute since I composed for something, but you're building out your tempo map, right? Which is, what is that? It's where all your hits are, and for example, like, and every director will come to you like this. You'll ask them, are you locked? And they say yes, and you're like, are you fucking positive? And they're like, yes, and no, it's gonna fucking change. And then you go write the thing, right? It's taking you fucking days to write this fucking thing, but you're busting ass. You're doing like 20 hours a day. I've written some shit where I stayed up for 72 hours fucking straight to try to hit the deadline, and I had 104 temperature, and it was brutal, man. And I pulled it off, and I was falling asleep as I'm writing it and shit. So we're trying to save your movie. That's a composer's job. But directors will come in and they'll say they're locked, and then they come back after you write the fucking thing, and then they say the cue, and then they say, you know what, I sorry, but I made some changes. It's just a few scenes here, and it's just a few frames. I mean, here and there through that scene, it's not that big of a change, And as a composer, like, I promise you, that fucks up the whole cue. They're like, can't you just like shrink it or something? Isn't there like a button? You just press a button, shrink to scene? No, there's not. You gotta rebuild it all out because it doesn't match now. Okay? So I'm not saying you can't do that as a director, like change your mind on some shit. Of course you can. Because, it's a big deal. And there might be a lot of money on the line, so of course. But don't say it's not that big of a deal. It is. Understand that when you change your scenes, if you're not fucking confident it's locked, don't call it locked. So then the composer can maybe be like, well, let me move on. You get what I'm saying there, right? Another way that directors fuck up is they finish the whole fucking movie, it's all temped out, and they're like, oh, you know what? I forgot. I need a composer. And then they start looking for a composer. But the problem is they're already married to the temp score. They've heard it over and over and over in the editing bay, and now that's what they want. And it's like, that's not your music though. And I'm saying, here's a fucking opportunity to fucking do something brand new that matches your film. Why would you try to steal someone else's music and put it to your shit? It's gonna make people think of their movie. What the fuck, And go pull this up on YouTube or whatever. There are some great videos where it's like, here's the temp score and here's the results. And it's almost identical. And I promise you, the composer is like, I didn't want to write that. And I'm trying not to get sued, but the director is pushing me in that direction so much that, okay, fine, I'll fucking rip this shit off, but your movie fucking sucks now. You want to know why some movies fucking suck? That's a big part of it. Sound is kind of invisible, but the music is there's that term that the music should be felt but not heard. That bullshit. No. Hum the Star Wars tune right now. The theme. You know it. Dun, dun, da, 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 da. We all know it. So no, it's not invisible. Okay? The best scores, like he's known as the best composer on the film composer on the fucking planet. We know his theme. That's why we go to Hollywood Bowl and fucking watch it, listen to it. And Steven Spielberg walks out on stage and says, John Williams, saved my ass. It wouldn't, my movies wouldn't be that without him. And I'm sure George Lucas feels that way as well, you know? So composing is incredibly important. The other thing there is, I'm just going to try to ramble and think of as much shit as I can. Maybe there should be a part 3, I don't know. But, you know, here's my thing. If I was a director, I'll end it on this. If I was a director, because I see I'm at 10 minutes. If I was a director, here's how I would do it. And, you know, I got into writing from a kind of fucked up experience with the director, where I'm like, dude, like, I'm trying to save your film. And I talked to him. I'm like, we need to spot this so I know exactly what music you want. And I did my pitch about, like, I think the music should be this, you know. And he's like, okay, that sounds cool, you know. And I won't say what film it was, but it was like a young thing. And so I'm like, the music should be young, and there's some, you know, musicians mentioned in the film, like they're wearing the t-shirt of you know, various famous musicians and shit. And I'm like, I would like to write something with them, you know, and bring in their flavor, you know, and make it like legit, you know, textured, because I had read the script. And that's the thing I was going to say there too, is give the composer, like, when you build out your team as a director, the composer should be one of the first people on your list, and give them, I'll go the whole 15 minutes. The composer should be one of the first people on your list, you know, along with the editor and whatever the fuck else, so that they can read the script, you know, and start writing motifs for you. I told you I'm not going to explain this shit. And so you can get used to that. And so now you're not going to get married to the temp score, and now you're not going to rip it off. You know, this is pro level, dude. Okay? And even too many people at even very high levels, like, you know, tens of millions of dollars, temp shit, and they fucking fall for it. Here's how, you know. And so I'm like, fuck, I read the script. I'm like, there's a lot of problems here, man. Like, I was thinking, like, I could fix some of the shit in the script, you know, but I'm thinking, well, I gotta try to fix it in the movie. And so, you know, then I'm like, you know what, fuck it. Like, why don't I just write my own script? And that director, $6 million movie, you know, crapped out on it. And I knew, I'm like, I want to do the music this way, where it feels young, and I try to, like, because it felt a bit after school especially, and I'm like, let me just, like, try to, like, dirty it up with the music a little bit and try to save your ass. But I knew, or the director wants to go that way. And when I got fired, he wouldn't talk to me. And he's like, I can't talk, dude. I might have a fucking nervous breakdown. I gotta go. This is what is said. I'm like, no, hold on. He's like, no, I swear, I can't. I'm having a fucking panic attack right now. I can't talk to you. Just write it. Click. I'm like. So I write it, and I'm fired, you know, and I know why I was fired. It's because of the editor, you know, and I'm like, because it didn't sound good. And I'm like, I don't know, like, what you want, dude. And it wasn't big enough. And I was going a bit smaller, and but I'm like, this all is gonna be recorded live, you know. But then I knew, okay, I got fired. I know what he wants. He wants it to sound fucking huge, but that music is way too big for his fucking movie, you know. So I wrote a cue, like a sample, and sent it to him and said, I could have done that for you, and it's fucking good. You want to go hear that music? Go on my website, jasonsmiley.com. Pull up the piece Heist. That's the cue. I just wrote it just to say I could have done that shit for you, but it's still too fucking big, dude. You know, and his movie failed, and that was it for him as a director. So you got to take this shit seriously, man. Do you give a fuck? Do you want to have a career? I would take this shit seriously. You know, and here's how I'll end it with this. Here's how I would direct, because I had the opportunity to direct. We had the financing, and CA was trying to help me with that shit. But then also CA was like, why don't you do TV? It's more money, dude. So I go that way. And so I did, but I should have directed that. But the way I would do it as a director, and let me say this too before I forget. Room tone, dude. So many directors, they don't get room tone. What the fuck are we doing here? Go on your set, be the boss, and say, listen, I need everybody shut the fuck up for 60 seconds minimum. And here we go. And anybody talks, you're fired. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Grab your room tone so that the editor has something to fucking throw in when your scene fucking doesn't work. You know what I mean? Anyway, so what I was saying is about how I would do it is I would go ahead, you know, like the editor, I would say go ahead, edit to the temp score, you know, so you can build out your tempo and shit like this. Great, that's fine. But I don't want to hear a single fucking note from it. When I walk in, turn that shit off. You know, or you're fired. Be the boss, dude. You know? And so, cool. You got the whole thing laid out. It's locked now. Great. I did not hear any temp music at all. Now, I want the composer to come in and write from scratch, dude. Write to picture. This is pro level, dude. Writing to picture. Not, I'm going to have him go off and, you know, he or she, go off and write some shit, and then I'm going to chop it all up and throw it in. I mean, I understand that the stems, do we know what stems are? You know, I understand that's going to get chopped up, but no, have your composer write to the fucking picture. I mean, this is an opportunity for someone to save your fucking ass. Okay? This shit is fucking critical. All right? There's some tips. Later, guys.